the swag on. Get the swag on.
Bonsoir. Alors, je voulais déjà remercier Rémi Bourganel pour avoir fait la connexion, Alice et Hugo pour l'invitation. Je remercie Valentin pour la super première partie. Je pense que ça fait vraiment le lien avec ce dont on va parler aujourd'hui. Alors moi, j'ai 75 slides, hein, donc je vais essayer d'aller très vite si j'arrive à faire marcher la machine parce que effectivement, mes photos sont forcément très lourdes. Je vais vous parler aujourd'hui d'un projet qui a reçu les fonds de la fondation Rockefeller pour faire un premier prototype au Ghana. Et c'est un projet que je fais avec Dike Oseoassar, qui est un architecte designer qui est installé en ce moment au Ghana. J'espère que ça ne dérange personne si je change de l'anglais en français. J'ai l'équipe de l'autre côté du monde hein, qui va m'écouter, j'imagine, enfin j'espère, hein, va vouloir m'écouter en anglais. Donc je vais passer de l'anglais au français. J'espère que ça gêne personne. So today I'll be talking about urban innovation, design and spacecraft. I just hacked the title. It was supposed to be a makerspace, but our makerspace is called a spacecraft, and I think you'll understand why I'm talking about a spacecraft. First of all, I want to talk about junk spaces. Junk spaces, you know that today we all have like devices everywhere, and this is the way we live our life, and all these devices, 40 million tons per year about, and this growing, it's going somewhere in dump sites around the world, mainly in Africa, Asia, and all these places. So I don't know if you know about this project by the MIT Sensible Lab, which tracks trashes and where it goes. This tracked the trashes, and they also did another project tracking the trashes that goes to India. You see it's going to India in the gray market, and it's going to our sites. This is our site. So this is basically Agbogbloshie in Ghana. And this is where all our devices are somehow processed by the informal sector. And it's basically, you're arriving to Mars, or you're arriving to an inhospitable land, which you've seen in many places online, right? And this is basically the state of the affair. I'm trying to go as fast as possible. So what do you do when you have such a space like that? So how do you innovate something, a space that is like that? What's your role as a designer? What can you do when you have something like that? Well, we started by thinking about an innovation. And do you have any idea? Well, do you know what's innovation? That's a big word, right? What is it? Qu'est-ce que c'est l'innovation pour vous? No one wants to answer?
Une nouvelle façon de faire les choses.
Une nouvelle façon de faire les choses. Yeah. At the office, we call it stellate innovation. Stellate innovation is basically you take a pentagram and you extend those lines, right? I don't know if you can see the lines that you extend, and it becomes the star. And then from the star, you draw another pentagram. The idea is that innovation, you start from a beginning. You cannot innovate from nowhere. You have to innovate from what you have. So basically, you have to look at what exists in order to find ways in which you can innovate. So this is an abstract, somehow it's an abstraction, right, or a drawing that helps you understand that we base our innovations, our programs, our architecture, or product, whatever we want to create, based on what's existing, basically looking at how people do things and how they do things. So that's familiar to you if you're familiar with design thinking processes. This is basically somehow, it relates a bit to that. People. So we've developed somehow methodology looking, mapping, discovering vector, co-design and prototyping. And for each step of the process, it's not a linear process. When you discover, you map. When you discover, you vector, and you co-design at the same time, and you co-design and you prototype. I'm very happy to discuss with you a bit further on this, about that. But since I have many things to show you, I'll just move on. So camp. So the project that we created for this environment is what we call Agbogbloshie Makerspace platform. And it's camp.net is about to, you will have access to it. It's up and running, but it really needs a redesign right now. It's a makerspace. I know you're familiar with a makerspace, right? What is a makerspace? Do I have to define a makerspace? Right. So located in Ghana. This is basically where it's on the Gold Coast, Ghana. Ghana, where you export gold and aluminum, bauxite, diamonds, manganese. Gold is what's used sometimes in some of the electronics devices. So it's going there, but it's coming back as trash, right? In Ghana, there is gold in trash. So this Ghana, so this, you see it a bit closer, is not far from Nigeria, Lagos, Togo, where you have the Wole Lab. I don't know if you heard about it, the Wafat to Mars, and all this project I'll be showing about. Well, at the time of the independence, they went ahead with one of the plan of the architect urbanist Doxiadis to transform, to make sure that Accra had another space, another city next to it, where all the goods would come in and come out. Actually, all the gold would step out. So the thing is that when they planned the city, when you see like square things around, a lot of like informality just happen in between. So here are the truck that what you see over there. I don't have a pointer, but what you see, like the small trucks over there, are the small elements over there are the trucks, and they have like the small hotels for one day. When they arrive, they can sleep in those hotels and everything. So this very straight, organized thing doesn't work in that space. Life is just like going ahead. We are in a place where everything is informal. So what do you do when you have a population of 40,000 youth from the north of Ghana coming down to Accra and deciding that they need to earn a bit of money, and deciding that the best way to process waste, e-waste, is to actually burn things? Well, obviously, Agbogbloshie is the place which is the most polluted on Earth, and we've decided that we are moving ahead with terraforming. Anyone knows what this word means? Terraforming means transforming an inhospitable places into a hospitable one. And this is why we're creating a makerspace over there, is because we're hoping by implementing this makerspace that we'll be able to terraform, to change this inhospitable space as a hospitable one. So there are many ways you can do it. You can work with the population. If you haven't seen that movie Wasteland, I invite you to go watch it, because it's an amazing movie where you have a painter who works with people, the informal sector of the waste. This is in Rio, to create work of art. In Ghana, the informal sector is in some way formalize, organize its way of working, and this is what we are looking at the moment, is because everything is somehow really structured, and they have their way of doing things, and this is what we learn from it. This is an image from the site. There are other ways also, so you could work with the population, as been suggested by this other project, or decide on creating robots. So robots that, here is like the fresh kill waste land that's been transformed nearby New York City. And you have Mitchell Joachim, for example, who is design a rapid refuse project where you had robots taking this junk and creating. And so we're somehow inspired with these ideas. So right now we're going on discovering the place. So that's the place. So the dump site is here. This is Old Fadama, a informal housing of 40,000 people living. You have Odao River that is going down to the waters. So all the somehow the waste, the e-waste is seeping through that earth, and it's just going directly into the ocean. You have like spaces, like you have a football club, a church, a mosque. You have lots of things going on, and what we are starting to be doing is collecting information about how people live, how people process things, how people do things. And this is an example of a community mapping that DKOCOSR did for the Anam city in Nigeria. He did like a community mapping, and this is what we're doing at the moment. We're collecting information and data about who are these people, what are they doing, how are they collecting things, how are they processing things, how in fact to get a little bit more information about what the place is. So what happens is that when you look at a map, it just helps you somehow. Already it gives you intention or ideas about the design of a project, gives you like stories about the project, and this is what we're doing. This project is very important to us at different levels. One, it helps us organize, it helps us, how do you say that? Finding methods that when you talk to someone who you want to work with, you need to come to him with like a list of like methods, or you want to come up to him with like, okay, I can offer you this and I can do things in a certain way, and these are the products that you're doing. So this project helps us finding the language, finding that we want to be using. This project also helps us create a platform for a population that is, well, for a population that will be able to use it and somehow make money out of it. And this project helps us finding partners, ally for the project. So we have to find like a very fun story to talk about. And that's why I started showing you images of talking about junk spaces, and I want to transform these junk spaces into a spacecraft. A spacecraft, you know what that is like a spaceship. The idea is to use all this electronic waste, to use them, to assemble them, to create architecture, to create other things with the informal sector and with makerspace in Ghana or abroad. So they learn, one, how to better process things, right? How to make things better and how to sell them also through this platform. As you understand, the platform is both physical and is also digital. Basically, when you do something, you never invent the wheel. You never invent something new. You're never going to invent something new. So what do you do first is really to learn about what's being done. So what we're interested is in this type of things to look at. We also want to know everything about how to make a spacecraft or a cabin, or how to build things in a way that is very sturdy. What's the material that we use and how we assemble this? Of course, we're not alone. This is a sculpture by Theo Jensen. I don't know if you know, but it just moves. It doesn't have any motor. It's just like, and with the wind, it can just walk. It's if you have some time, just look online. It's absolutely gorgeous space. That's another image that we look at, which is the British Antarctic Survey space, which has been designed by the architect Hugh Broughton and his team. And you can see what we see from this space is that they're just like not anchored, right? They're movable, they're just not anchored, they can go. This is the Macro Lab, also another spacecraft that we look at that we're fascinating with. And the funny thing is, like, this guy is looking outside, and what is he looking at? He's looking at microarchitecture that we find on site, which is fascinating. This is a space that's been put together with like old fridges. And what does it tell us? And this is another microarchitecture. What does it tell us? This is the spacecraft that we want to build is going to be using the material that is available on site, and it's going to use like the idea of a spacecraft is going to be like this is looking that way, and it's going to be movable because it needs to move on site, right? And it's going to have some amenities in it. So what's the space program? Well, in that space, what do we want to do? Well, in a makerspace, it's a space where you have a lot of tools in it. So you have hand tools, furniture, machine tools, utility gear, industrial equipment, blah, 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 structure, water filtrations. You have computer hardware and softwares. We have like starting thinking about the WeCamp, which is an Agbogbloshie Makerspace platform, the digital part of it, solar power and everything in it. So this is how they start processing things. So what do you think this is?
Plugs.
Yeah, exactly. Sockets. And so they are somehow processing it. This is, what is it, this? I don't know if you see very much what he's doing.
Plastic.
No, that's in the refrigerator. The how do you say that? The condensateur, huh? Yeah, so he's opening that like that. This is the sockets he used, and he's taking away the metal so they can do things with it. So what we're doing right now is gathering a lot of this information. We have tons of pictures going to be on Flickr at some point soon, and since it's an open project, people will be able to see and just like take some images if they want. And we look around, so how we can improve the process. So in this makerspace, this is what we want people to, we want to create these tools with things that is available on site so people better process things. So it's a recycled copper wire strippers. This is the type of tools that maybe we could be doing in there. This is like Rachel Field's senior thesis project at Harvard University. She did a bicycling. So a lot of like the electronic circuits that are available on site, they're just like on the floor. And then she creates a bicycle. So you bicycle and it just like chops everything to plastic powder. And so you can actually process it in a bit better. That's an amazing project. This is how they already organize their tools. So when they process things, they have ways to do it. So that it's a tire, and then there is a plastic things in it, and they put different elements they collect. We want to create better furniture. We want to have them create more sturdier furniture that could be used in some other to improve upon the furniture. This is, for example, the cart that they're using to gather things around the city. That is going to be, it could be transformed or augmented to get, with sensors, for example, to get some kind of like indication about the pollutions and to feed back into the digital platform. But this is actually a solar kiosk. That's an example that things that could be done. A cart that's been augmented with a solar. It's been done. It's DKOCOSR, who's worked with engineers for a sustainable world of Stanford University to create this. You know, that is somehow it requires a lot of engineering that I don't understand, but that's also why we are in a team which is like multidisciplinary. So, and that's, you've probably heard about that, is the Wafat to Mars 3D printer by the Wole Lab in Togo. And Afat, who designed this, he actually used part of computers, of not only computers, but e-waste to create this 3D printer. And that's pretty amazing, because you just realize that if you have the space and if you somehow open the people from the informal sector to a knowledge, to learning, to a knowledge that is different, they'll be able to do things to augment, you know, the way they do things, to make them better and to improve. We don't learn the same way today. They don't need to go to school. They just need to make. And this is the idea, is that we bridging makers and engineers who sometimes don't find work with the informal sector to create tools and to create devices that they could themselves start selling on a platform. That's another example of, oh no. The other example that you missed, the image of the Jerry clan, is also, I'm not so sure if it's been developed in France and then it's been also developed in the Wole Lab, but it's somehow also developed in the Wole Lab. This is a Jerry clan, and in it, so that's a computer. And it's just in a jerry can, and inside is also e-waste parts that are put together. All the parts that work from your computer, they are somehow repurposed into doing another computer that can work. And this one runs on Linux, I think. And this is pretty amazing what our friends in Togo are doing. And this is in Agbogbloshie. This is actually a satellite that works over there, that is made out of like pieces of stuff that are made over there, which is kind of fascinating. And so what we want to do is create that space that looks like a spaceship that can move about in that landscape, to create robots that can maybe transform this landscape into a habitable landscape, to create items out of like e-waste parts that are somehow can become these robots or can be sold on a platform. That could be this week camp where we could learn, okay, what is in a washing machine, what's in, and if you select, for example, the window, that is made out of glass. And if it's made, what you can do with it, some makers could just upload with their cell phone something on that platform. I've made that, I'm selling it for that amount of money or something like that. This is obviously, this is an attempt of a student to somehow visualize that. It's obviously a huge work to design. It shouldn't be a web, a computer, but it should be probably a mobile phone, somehow a tool that can be used from a mobile phone for the simple reason that people have mobile phone, they have probably less computers, so and also use a language that is, what language do we use when you actually don't know how to write and speak, right? Or maybe you know how to write and speak, but in a language that is, you know, not common to everyone. And so, and if you want to, so the team, so yeah, so visiting with Kay, I was absolutely naive when I came there because I should have gone with boots, and I didn't. And that's Kay and Emmanuel. We just hired Emmanuel, which is an architect. On the left, this is DKOCOSR, which is principal at Lodo, with whom I'm collaborating on the project. Emmanuel and Ivy, she's a material scientist She's working, so we had a Skype meeting. Look how intense our Skype meetings are. I went to visit the Woolley Lab this summer, and this is Afat, in the second person, is the guy who invented the 3D printer. At school, I also try to somehow have people to have students to think about those issues and see if they're interested in it. And they started creating themselves, making a Buckminster Fuller dome with tires, because they saw that in Agbogbloshie, okay, well, they were not as interested in e-waste, but they saw that there were a lot of tires, and they thought, well, as architects, we don't know how to manipulate all this like electronics, but we maybe know a bit better how to manipulate tires, so that was funny. But I let them, and of course the makers in Ghana. So that's an image of the makers in Ghana. Why is it that I'm showing the team, and I insist on that? I mean, we have an eminent material scientist working with us on the team. But why is it that also? But why is it that I'm showing the team? Is that in order to innovate, you no longer, as a designer, and this is what I found out, can do things on your own. I don't know how to play with those things, and I certainly can think about a theory, and I'm from the academic, I'm teaching and I'm writing and I'm thinking about our society and how it is transforming, so that's useful to think a little bit about the consequences of the thing that you want to be doing. So that's one thing that is important. But if I want to do things, I need to collaborate with people who do certain things. So e-waste, I mean, there is no way in which I know, I can know as much as possible about e-waste, but a material scientist will tell me exactly the level of mercury that there is in the soil, that I need to know all these details. So I cannot only rely on second-hand literature. So I need to have a material scientist in the team. What else do I need to? Well, I mean, if I talk about makerspace and hacking, I need to talk with you guys. So I need to collaborate with you. And if I want to do a mobile platform, I definitely need to, I definitely need to work with people who are creating a mobile platform. So this project is definitely a project that addresses different things. It addresses the idea of like, okay, how do we make sure that the people from that are using this project are not only not the corporation, we're talking about the informal sector, just how the informal sector can formalize more or less and, earn money out of this. So thinking about this. Second, how can we make this, how can we terraform this urban environment? So it's very much a project that is somehow thinking about the economy, the social, and the environmental aspect of things. So since we're now back to Monsters Academy, I'm going to stop here. I hope this makes sense. I had to explain it very, very, very fast. Because, that's a lot of slides, but, I hope you'll have questions for me. Merci.